What happened to Jimmy Hoffa? In the minutes after 2 p.m. on 30 July 1975, former International Brotherhood of Teamsters Union President Jimmy Hoffa impatiently waited outside the Machus Red Fox Restaurant in Bloomfield Township, Michigan. He was there to meet a couple of Mafia honcho Anthony Tony Jack Giacalone from Detroit and New Jersey's Anthony Tony Provenzano, reportedly with the aim of mending frayed relations with the latter. At 2 p.m., Hoffa called his wife Josephine to complain he was being stood up, adding he would return home by 4 p.m. to grill steaks for dinner. But Hoffa never made it back for dinner, and the following morning his green Pontiac Grand Ville was found idle in the Machus Red Fox parking lot. With the filing of a missing person report that evening, the case was formally opened on what would become one of the country's most famous unsolved mysteries. Born in 1913 in Brazil, Indiana, James Riddle Hoffa received an early lesson about the hazards of unsafe working conditions when his coal miner father died of lung cancer in 1920. He organized his first strike while working for Kroger grocery stores in Detroit in the early 1913, and within a few years he was transforming the Teamsters into the most powerful union in the country. A hero to its rank and file members, Hoffa was a popular choice to take over as Teamsters president in 1957. However, he had forged close ties with organized crime bosses while charting his path to power, connections that drew the scrutiny of Washington lawmakers and eventual Attorney General Robert Kennedy. After being convicted of jury tampering, fraud, and attempted bribery, the union leader began serving a 13-year prison sentence in 1967. Hoffa passed his Teamsters presidency to Frank Fitzsimmons, received a presidential pardon from Richard Nixon in 1971, with the stipulation he was to steer clear of union activity until 1918. However, Hoffa had no intention of waiting that long, and he was exploring ways to regain his leadership. At the time, he abruptly vanished. 3 weeks after the search commenced, the FBI had a lead when police dogs discerned Hoffa's scent in the backseat of a Mercury Marquis Brougham. The car was owned by Joe Giacalone, son of Anthony Giacalone, and had been borrowed by Hoffa protege Shaki O'Brien, who denied any involvement in the case. With the convening of a Detroit grand jury in September, a series of Teamsters officials and reputed mob associates were called to testify. However, none offered an substantial information, often invoking the Fifth Amendment in lieu of answers. In early 1976, the FBI put out a report of its findings in what was known as the Hoffa's Memo. The list of suspects including other guy names like Vito, Billy Jack, Giacalone, and Salvatore Salibax Brigiglio. Unfortunately, although investigators felt they were on the right path, they found no one willing or able to confirm that Hoffa's disappearance directly resulted from mob involvement. As the years progressed, numerous theories surfaced as to where Hoffa's remains could be found. In 1982, a mob hitman named Charles Allen told a congressional committee that the Union bigwig had been dismembered and left in the Florida Everglades at the end of the decade. Another hitman, Donald Tony the Greek Franco, suggested to enduringly popular notion that Hoffa was buried beneath Giant Stadium in East Rutherford, New Jersey. Although the deaths of most chief suspects hampered further investigations, the cold case suddenly regained steam in 2001 when new DNA technology revealed that the hair found in the Mercury Marquis brow gum was a match for Hoffa. The matter was referred to the Oakland County Prosecutor's Office in Michigan, which returned the deflating news that there wasn't enough evidence to charge anyone. 3 years later, another door opened with the release of a book titled Here You Paint Houses, an alleged mob phrase used to gauge a person's willingness to kill someone else. Written by lawyer Charles Brandt, the book presented an intriguing account for the case by a recently deceased Mafia and Hoffa associate named Frank the Irishman Sheeran. According to Sheeran, Hoffa had made people nervous by threatening to expose the behind-the-scenes Teamsters mob, dealing that had transpired while he was locked up. Ordered to kill Hoffa by the powerful and secretive Pennsylvania boss Russell Bufalino, Sheeran headed to the Machus Red Fox with O'Brien and Brigiglio on that fateful day to tell Hoffa that the meeting spot had been moved. They drove to an empty house in northwest Detroit, where Sheeran pumped 2 shots into his once trusted friend. The confession prompted detectives to rip up the floorboards of the home fingered by Sheeran. They uncovered what appeared to be promising bloodstains, though lab analysis failed to match the sample to Hoffa. Thus began an unfulfilling trend in which properties were ransacked in the hopes of finding more clues, if not the actual body of the missing man, a horse farm near Milford, a garage in Roseville, an empty lot in Oakland Township, all torn up to reveal nothing. In another example of the new evidence that pops up every few years, in 2015, the New York Post reported on a claim that Hoffa had been buried in 55-gallon drum at a toxic dump site in northeastern New Jersey. Naturally, the source of the info, mob and Teamsters inside Philip brother Moscato, had died the year before. Meanwhile, Martin Scorsese's 2019 movie The Irishman features a script adapted from I Hear You Paint Houses and the cast of the usual Hollywood wise guys, including Robert De Niro as Sheeran, Al Pacino, Hoffa, and Joy Percy Bufalino. A passion project of Scorsese The film took a long time to get off the ground. Chances are, with authorities now closer to cracking the case that they had been decades earlier, the director wasn't too worried about new developments spoiling his final product.